Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Monday, the 29th day of June, 2026. I hope you're all safe and healthy today and that you enjoyed your weekend and that your family is also safe and healthy and enjoyed their weekend and that the needs of your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the area of health, along with first responders doing their best to save lives every day. Those also that pick up garbage to keep our places clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women that are out here trying to help, rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children, victims of child molestation and pedophilia. The ones that are out here trying to help, rescue, deliver, and recover victims of prostitution, child prostitution, pornography, child pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, profiteers, and perverts that create demands that cause these evil and ugly industries to exist. Finally, double blessings on the homeless. More than 700,000 men, women, children, families, senior citizens, military veterans, homeless in the United States of America. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Okay. We talked yesterday. If you were at the podcast, you heard, I figured out what the Knicks were doing. The Knicks are slick. And the thing is, I should have known because Leon Rose, from the time he came to New York, has been running things under tight control. He has limited access to media. He doesn't leak anything. His team doesn't leak anything. So I already knew during the course of the time he has been here, whenever we hear rumors about what's expected or what's rumored, it's not true. Okay? And today is going to give you another example with Kevon Looney. Now, before we go there, though, the okie doke that they pulled was the Knicks. And again, I looked up articles from the New York Times from earlier in the season 2025. The last of those articles came out on February 6th of this year, where they were saying they had met with, that they being the Knicks management, had agreed with the Knicks management and the representatives of Mitchell Robinson of how he was going to be load managed. And they did it. And the reason they did it was to maximize his abilities, which they did, which culminated in a championship. But here's the kicker that many people are still tripping about. They already knew he wasn't going to come back. They already knew that the cap was going to be what it was, and he wasn't going to come back. They weren't going to. And the reason James Dolan made the announcement that he made on WFAN about not going over the second apron, which surprised a lot of us, including myself, a guy that's willing to write checks, decided he ain't writing those, was because he was going to take the heat off Leon. Because they already knew they weren't bringing Mitchell Robinson back. And many people are still tripping about the idea that Mitch Robinson's not going to be back. I understand that because during the course of time, as many of you know, 6 months before the Knicks got OG, I knew they were going to get OG. And I knew that RJ and IQ were going to be gone because those are logical salary fits. And RJ being from that area of Canada, the Toronto area, and IQ really being a starter in the backup role, it would fit, and it did. And when I realized that, I guess it was at least the summer before it happened, I was sad about losing both of those guys. Especially I was sad with IQ because not only was he a homegrown Knick, but I saw the future of a star and as a point guard. And I felt like he should have got the keys. Little did I know that they already intended to bring in Jalen Brunson. And little did I know what Jalen Brunson would become. The Don knew though. Well, just so. They already, that is the Don and the capologist Brock Aller and Walt Parent and James Dolan, knew they were going to manage Mitchell Robinson the whole season. They didn't. I don't want to say they knew they were going to win the chip. We believe, all those on my channel believe, a channel for the Knicks and about the Knicks were going to know that they could win the chip. The chip window was open when they got capped. But if they were going to accomplish it and get the most out of Mitchell Robinson, they had to bring him off the bench. No back-to-backs. They had to really protect him. Now, what that does is create value in Mitch. Okay, how does that help the Knicks? So, first off, we did win the championship, and Mitchell Robinson collected the biggest offensive rebound in the last 53 years for the Knicks to clinch that championship in Game 5. Okay, the gentleman's sweep of San Antonio. So, now we got teams, and this is according to Ian Begley, telling Ian Begley, listen, we'll start him. If you got teams talking about start Mitchell Robinson, you don't got to took him by the okie doke, because Mitchell Robinson is not really a starter in terms of longevity. He's going to get hurt, and he knows it. But he wants to get paid, period. And he wants to get paid like a starter's going to get paid. And he probably will. But he won't be a Knick. And I'm over it now. I love Mitch Rob. I'm Mitch High, just like Deuce High. You come on my channel talking negative about Mitch or Deuce or Tibbs, and you know you're getting cut out. We don't even want to read you. We don't even want to go back and forth with you. We just cutting you out. But I'm over it. Now, yesterday was one of the typical clickbait crap that comes out of X. This was, I don't even remember who wrote it. I won't even give him that kind of prop. But, it is rumored that the Knicks are looking for a center with playoff experience, and Kevon Looney is the guy. Let me tell you why it's unlikely. I'm not saying it's not possible, but let me tell you why clearly. Listen, why it's unlikely Kevon Looney's going to play for the Knicks this year. Number one, if you look at Kevon Looney's history in terms of his play, his career earnings. If you look at Kevon Looney's career earnings, now, Kevon Looney was fortunate to be on a Golden State Warriors team that had Seth Curry, obviously, Klay Thompson, prime Klay Thompson, and of course we know Draymond Green, and they won multiple championships, of which he was a member of the team for 3 of those. Now let's look at his history, okay? Remember now, one thing that people got to understand, that many people that put out this BS don't understand, because they don't have no understanding before they start typing this crap. But let me put something out for you. There's 2 things an NBA player wants. Number one, he wants to get paid. Everybody in the world knows the salaries of NBA players can be astronomical. And so that is why when you see the draft and you see these guys getting picked in the first round, they hugging family, because you know what? They just hit lottery. They getting ready to get paid, at least for 3 years. They get 4-year deals, and the 4th year is usually a team option. But generally, if you are top 10 and you at least try to show that you got the potential of a top 10 to be in the league, you're going to get paid for 4 years. Nowadays, the top pick usually going to get something in the minimum range of like $70 million just from guaranteed money. That's not even including endorsements. So if you in that top group, your family is set, okay? And you know you done did it. That is why. So they want to get paid. And the second thing they want to do, because they are competitive athletes, is win a chip. So if they can get a bag and win a chip, that's nirvana for a person in the NBA. Now, when Kevon Looney came into the league, he was 19. That's 2015. He came into the league, he was 19 years old. His first year in 2015, he made $1.1 million. The second year, the year that Golden State won a championship, he was 20 years old. He made $1.2 million. Okay, then you go down, and he was like that for several seasons, 1.1, 1.2, 1.4, 1.5. Then all of a sudden, 2019, he gets $4 million, which for him is a big number, right? So he gets $4 million in 2019. He's 23 years old. He gets almost $5 million in 2020. Then 2021, they win the chip. He's on that squad. He gets $5 million. Then they give him a pretty reasonable deal. He gets a contract where he's going to get $7.5, $8 million. He got a 3-year deal. He's going to get somewhere $23 million. That's the biggest contract of his career. So he had been sacrificing his money to be on that team and get the chip, and Golden State took care of him. At the end of the day, 7.5, 8. Now, Kevon is now, even though he's only 30, going to be 31 in February, he got a lot of miles on him. There's 31 and then there's 31. It's not all the same in the league. There's some 31 years old, like when LeBron now 40. When he was 31, you would think he was 21 because the boy could roll like he was a kid, you know what I mean? But Kevon ain't like that. So Kevon is 6'9", defense, rebounder, but he don't have the durability or the wind or the motor that he once had. It's not there. So last year, He left Golden State at age 29, and he signed a 2-year, $16 million deal with New Orleans. Now, New Orleans is a lottery team, okay? And he played with them, and he got $8 million last year, $8 million. But then they declined the club option for next year. That's why everybody's talking about him, because people just see a name and start yelling the name. Like some idiot came on my channel talking about Mo Bamba. You gotta be kidding me. The dude ain't made it. He ain't going to make it. You know why? He's from New York, but he sucks. So we don't need him. Well, now, Kevon is 30, gonna be 31. And he gonna be an unrestricted free agent, coming from $8 million. What you think? He gonna come to the Knicks for the vet men? See? And why would the Knicks want a guy that lost his motor at 30? Why? It don't make no sense. You know why? Because it don't make no sense. So no, that's not the target. Okay? And that's the thing. The Don and the crew are much smarter than people give him credit for. They done already, he been showing he's the Don from the first year he was here, and some people still ain't getting that. He ain't stupid. Yes, he has made mistakes, but he always rectifies. Kemba Walker was a mistake. Evan Fournier was a mistake. But what happened? He rectified that, which is why we now the champions. Okay? So he ain't going to make something stupid like this. And then people talking about, oh my God, Moses Brown, whose feet move like he's in a damn pool of mud. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Some people, I don't know where your mind is. I really, honestly. Moses Brown, Mo Bamba, what the hell? And now, Kevon Looney, are you kidding me? So they already knew that Mitch Rob was not coming back. That was already given. If they'd have lost in the first, second round or whatever, Mitch Rob wasn't coming back. And it makes sense. Why would the management go through all of this, petting him and making sure he's at optimal and really managing his business? That's a lot of work for a guy you're going to pay millions of dollars to now. Okay? So that investment paid off this year, and it was at a high. You know, when you're an investor, one thing that all really successful investors do that most people don't do is buy low and sell high. See, when you watch the stock market, most people lose money, even though the stock market over the history has made at least 10% a year over the history. But most people lose money. Why? Because they panic when there's a crash and start selling. That's how you lose money. But the smart investors see this crash and they start buying. Because you're really buying the stock market at a discount. The same in basketball. See, with the Charlotte Hornets, they couldn't even get 50 games. I said one time they can get 50 games out of LaMelo Ball, paying him $40+ million a year. So last year he played 72 games, All-Star, was pushed. They said, okay, we're going to sell high. That's what he did. That's why he's now a Minnesota Timberwolf. And they're going to have to deal with the injury-prone LaMelo. But the Knicks caught Mitch Rob, biggest rebound in Knicks history, played his tail off in the part-time role that he was playing. He was on a $60 million deal and was looking for more money. Sell high. And that's what they're doing, selling high. Now, what do they need to replace him? Well, reason we had to manage him, recall, was because of his injury history. But Mitch Rob got motor, okay? He was like 27, 28 this year. So he got motor, even though we got to manage him. He's athletic. You're not going to want to lose that. That's the most important part. Yes, you're not going to replace the offensive rebounding power that the best offensive rebounder in the NBA has. That's Mitchell Robinson. But you can surely replace availability and motor and defense. So as I was saying last week, there's candidates out there. I like Yves Missy. I like Moussa Diabate. Yes, for sure. Who else? You got Adem Bona. What do they all represent? Youth, motor, defense. All of them. And what do they have in common? Diabate, Missy, and Bona. Roughnecks. Okay? Roughnecks. You want somebody to guard Wemby? Wemby can't handle no roughneck. See, Chet Holmgren is not a roughneck. He's not. They were more, that is, Oklahoma City was more successful against the Spurs putting Alex Caruso on him. Because Alex Caruso is a roughneck. See, it's going to get out. Once a formula is made against a player, like back in the 80s, they had Detroit created a whole book between Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas, and they called it the Jordan Rules. Why? Because there was a formula they could use to contain Michael Jordan. They called it the Jordan Rules. Every player has weaknesses that can be exploited, and the league is the league. It's the best basketball players on planet Earth. So you got them, you got scouts, you got coaches, and they got ways. So for the Knicks, for example, in my view, the guy that guarded Wemby the best was a roughneck, OG Anunoby. Okay? OG got motor, muscles, grown-ass man attitude. That's OG. We still got OG. But now you're going to want another roughneck that's got motor and defense and a little bit taller than OG. OG 6'7", 6'8". You want a guy 6'10", 6'11", 7 feet. Okay? Diabate, 6'10". Misi, 6'11". Bona, 6'11". Motor, defense, roughneck. Like I said, what MC Light used to say, gotta have a roughneck. That's what we need. Okay? That's what we need in the second unit. You bring a defensive roughneck in that second unit, you already got Muhammad Diawara. He's coming. You ain't seen him yet. You seen flashes. You're gonna see more flashes. He still ain't there, but you're gonna see more flashes this year. Then you still got roughneck Deuce. You got roughneck Shamet. Shamet coming back. You got roughneck Shamet. Okay? Grand Theft Alvarado. Mobb Deep is going to be Mobb Deep. So, the candidates, as I mentioned, Diabate, Misi, Bona. Remember, stop trying to get guys that throw names out there, you know what the hell they are, how much they cost, what their physical condition is. Like I said, not all 30-year-olds are alike. I'd rather have, Diabate 23, 24. Diabate what? Let me look him up now. He 25. Okay, that's the oldest one. Misi, 22. Bona. How old Bona? Bona, 23. That's what we're talking about. Got 2 or 3 years NBA experience. And in some cases, like a Bona, been on a winning team. Okay, know what it's like. And now you're going to have these dudes, somebody's all tripping about playoff experience. The hell with that. You got playoff experience. You got a chip. So whoever comes to the Knicks in that role as the big man off the bench, they got playoff experience because they're dealing with all the guys that have won a chip. Okay? Because now Cat's on another level. Cat is on another level. He was already All-NBA, already an All-Star. Now he got a chip. Jalen Brunson, All-NBA, All-Star, chip. OG. He's not All-Star or NBA, though he should have been, but he's on the defensive team. Chip. The Road Runner. Chip. Ariel Hooporti. Chip. And some of y'all tripping. Somebody said, well, Ariel Hooporti's not enough. What the hell? Don't you understand that the Knicks have a culture now? Thank you, Tom Thibodeau. They got a culture. They develop players. Okay? They develop guys. So they got Ariel Hooporti, a steal at the 50-something pick. Chip. Okay? Now, I say one of these guys that I just named is going to be the guy. There's an outside shot that they get Nick Richards. Because Nick Richards, I'm really unsure. I'm just going to say it. When he was on Charlotte, Nick Richards had shown the ability of a motor. He did. And of course, I would favor him because he's also a fellow coconut. And that would go with Brunson, whose mama's a coconut. So that means him part 2. See? So I'll go with that. But Nick Richards, man, I don't know. It's like, okay, he's 7 feet tall. He's gonna be 29 in November. But see, Nick Richards is at the stage Looney was at. Nick Richards paid for $5 million. He's just coming off a $5 million a year, 3-year deal. So he's coming off $515. Okay, I don't think homeboy gonna want to play for the minimum. You got to understand, whoever the Knicks get to replace Mitchell Robinson needs to come in at around the minimum. Okay, the most expensive of the names I gave you is Missy. He'd be 3.5, but they can make that work. They can make that work. They could change some salaries in terms of trade some salaries off and make that work. But they're not playing. Nobody that's going to want $5 million somewhere else, they will get it. Nick Richards might get $5 million somewhere. Okay, he ain't coming to the Knicks for 2.5. Okay, he ain't doing that. So that's what I'm saying. So it could happen. Like Nick Richards could wake up one morning and say, I want a championship. That's the most important thing to me. I love New York. I could go. He might do that. But the likelihood, that's what we're talking about, is no. Let's say Nick Richards can get $5 million playing for another team. Let's say he can get $5 million going to San Antonio. Let's say he can get $5 million going to the Lakers. Let's say he can get $5 million going, Detroit. There's a number of teams that could offer him the $5 million he just made. Why would he come to the Knicks for 2.5? Because that's what we're looking for. See, Diabate 2.3, Misi 3.5. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Bona 2.5. That's what we're talking about. We need a guy we can get at the minimum. Not a guy that's now got 3 chips, 30 years old, looking to get paid $8 million. That ain't gonna work. Or a guy that's, he just signed the biggest contract of his career and he's gonna be 29 and he's looking for another $5 million. He ain't looking for no 2.5. So that's why that's probably gonna not happen either. See what I'm saying? So forget Looney. Whoever's mentioned in Kevon Looney is Looney. And then you got Nick Richards, which, like I said, is possible, but it's unlikely that he will come to the Knicks for the minimum. And it's just going to be a 1-year minimum. See, in the league, it's not just the bag, it's the long term. See, Alvarado is probably going to get the same $4.5 million this year that he was going to get anyway. But the difference is he's guaranteed 14. So he's going to get the same 4 this year. Okay, but he's guaranteed 2 more years. That's what guys want. That's why I'm strongly feeling that at the end of 26-27, Karl-Anthony Towns, before July 1st of 2027, is going to sign. He's going to tear up his player option of $61 million, and he's going to sign something in the $180 million range, which will start $16 million below and increase the second apron by $16 million to help the Knicks win. I see that coming. Okay. So that's why I'm not worried about some people restructure. You don't restructure contracts in the NBA. That's the NFL. Anyway, Kevon Looney is unlikely. Nick Richards is unlikely. So now you got to look again. Listen, minimum contract, energy, motor, defense. And you don't want somebody that just got drafted this year like a lot of knuckleheads. Why did they draft us under the second round? Because he wasn't going to play. That's why. You need a guy that has played. That's why I said the sweet spot is the 2023 or 2024 draft. That's the sweet spot. Because you get a 5 from the second round that's still in the league, which means he must be able to play a little bit. He's still in the league. And now he maybe didn't break out yet. Because centers don't break out till like their 3rd season, 4th season. Because they got to learn how to play in the league. One of the toughest positions, the 2 toughest positions in the NBA, point guard and center. Because the center's got to be able to see what's going on in real time, where it's moving real fast, and not have his head turned all over the place when he needs to be guarding people and taking up space, right? Diabate got it. Misi got it. Bona got it. That's what I'm saying. And, you might want to look, people want to look in the free agent market. I'm hearing that. I hear you. But the free agents at the 5 this year, I'm just going to say it's not real good pickings. That's all I'm saying. The free agents this year at the 5, first off, you just got Hartenstein was going to be a free agent. He signed. Mark Williams was going to be a free agent. He signed. Al Horford was going to be a free agent. He signed. So what you doing? Okay, where you gonna get Mo Bamba? He was drafted in the lottery out of Texas, couldn't last in 3 or 4 different teams. Come on, y'all. Wake up. Stop tripping. People just throw names. It's like they're guessing. Let me guess a name. Nick Richards. Because they heard of some clickbaiter on X tell them that. Come on, man. Do some research. Just a little bit. Damn. So Al Horford was going to be, he signed 2 years, $14 million. So he's going back to Golden State. Mark Williams is going to be in Phoenix. Isaiah Hartenstein is going to be in Oklahoma City. So, there's nobody out there. You're going to have to trade for somebody. Then, Mark Williams was a restricted free agent, but he's off the market now. So what you going to do? What you going to do? What you going to do? There's nothing you could do right now. Nothing you could do. So those guys are the only guys you had at 5. 5 is a hot spot right now. That's why Mitch Rob getting ready to get paid. Because Wemby is the guy everybody wants to now guard, and then Mitchell Robinson. So you got the best offensive rebound. They're going to try to get him. I understand the fools talking about starting him. My understanding is, and it makes sense, the guy that drafted Mitchell Robinson, okay, was Scott Perry. Scott Perry is now back in Sacramento. I would not be surprised if it was Scott Perry. And Mitchell Robinson knows Scott Perry. He was drafted by Scott Perry. I wouldn't be surprised if Mitch Rob ended up out there in Sacramento, because in Sacramento, Precious done found a home. A lot of people asking me about Precious. No, he's not available because Precious ain't playing for no damn minimum. Why would he? He already did it. He was a lottery, even not a lottery pick, but he was a definitely first round pick coming out of Memphis to go to Miami. Okay, so he ain't going for no minimum. He was doing that in New York. We didn't appreciate him. So now he found a home in Sacramento with Scott Perry. So now I'm thinking Mitch Rob probably go to Scott Perry. But then you also got the Lakers looking for 5. Jackson Hayes ain't it. We ain't trading for him. He was in New Orleans and Los Angeles. And you got guys, see what most people don't understand yet, because I think they're like 15 years old. But this is the problem. There's guys that are teasers. What do I mean by that? They got, if you look at the numbers, if their size, their wingspan, they look like they could ball, right? But they never do. Because you can look like a basketball player, don't mean you are. And you can perform like Moses Brown in the G League big time, don't mean you can do it on the NBA floor, which Moses Brown proved he can't. So that's why you need to have a guy that's proven that could ball. Diabate, Missy, Bona. And the thing is, Missy is my top pick to do this. I don't think the reason I don't think New Orleans is going to do it though, Missy got upside. See, if you could get him right now at 3.5, you just stole him. You just stole him, especially if it's going to cost you a bunch of second round picks and a couple of youngins. You stole him, because I would say like 3 years from now, Missy going to get in the 10 million plus range. He going to be like that. Diabate is a big opportunity, because Charlotte has 5 centers. They just drafted a center. And they got 4 others. There's a logjam at center in Charlotte. And what they're missing is point guards. They got Trey Mann, right? They just signed Kobe White. What, 2 point guards? They're going to need more. And just so happened, the Knicks have a polished, developed point guard that's ready. Tyler Kolek. I can see that happening. So that gets them a point guard, gets us a 5. Pretty much minimum salaries. Done. Okay. Now, Bona, we done already got kind of stung last year with Big Butt, right? I mean, we got him from Philly. Nice guy. Works hard, but didn't work out. We got him from Philly, overpaid him, and then he helped us out. Declined the second year of his deal to go to Chicago. Okay? Helped us out. Okay? Cool. But Bona, though, Bona ain't Big Butt. Man, I'm just saying. I mean, shoot. I like Bona. I liked him coming out of UCLA. He's the type of roughneck we could use, man. That's what I'm saying. I liked him coming out of UCLA, and I said, man, if we could get that guy. Yabusele is the Big Butt, if you don't know who I'm talking about, but he's 31. So, our guy, though, is 23 years old. So maybe we make a deal with them. Philly don't really need what we got. They're strong at the guard spot. They really do need a dependable 5 though, because I wouldn't depend on Embiid to tie his shoes without getting hurt. I'm just saying. So and paying all $50 million too, ooh, that's tough. That's tough. They done hamstrung themselves right there. So I don't know if we'd be able to deal with Philly. To me, New Orleans, because Mitch Rob is from Louisiana high school, right? And we can offer them we can offer them at least 3 second rounders plus cash plus Daddy A. So we can offer them a youngin plus Mitchell Robinson. Okay. And, that's a good package. So you're talking about Mitchell Robinson, Daddy A, let's say 3 second rounders. We got a ton of them, right? And then cash of undisclosed amount. And you're just asking for Missy. I think we could do that. Okay. I think that's a possibility. Because New Orleans really, if you look at their team, right, New Orleans have been playing small for a while. I mean, they actually, if you look at New Orleans, really, they were playing Zion at the 5 a lot. See, so Zion could play the 5 because he's big, he's buff, right? They trying to shop Jordan Poole's $34 million off their book because they got DeJounte Murray, they got Trey Murphy III, they got Herb Jones, Jeremiah Fear. They got Sadiq Bey, but what they did for their future is drafted Derek Queen. And they're very, even it surprised a lot of other commentators that they ranked Queen so high. Okay, but they got Queen. And so now if you put Mitchell Robinson behind him, in fact, Queen is the only real signed center aside Missy that they got. So if you can bring Mitch Rob off the bench and start Queen, which they started Queen a lot of games last year. If you could bring Mitch Rob off the bench and start Queen, you got a nice, your 5 is locked up. Okay, you treat Mitch the way the Knicks treated him. You give Mitch, I think Rich is really on the high side, $60 million over 5, but he ain't gonna get a 5-year deal. So I would say 40 something over 4. That's really what, that's coming off a bench and he's gonna be a positive, right? So that's fair. I think if they wanted to do that, the Knicks could, because I think that's a fair package that New Orleans would take to get a really great offensive rebounder that they can play off the bench. And that's it. And he's home, he's gonna be happy. Then, of course, Diabate and Charlotte, because they got a log jam at the 5. They're going to have to trade some 5s. They're going to have to let go of some 5s. Because I don't know why they did it, but they got a log jam at the 5. And they just drafted a 5. They just drafted a 5 this year. So I was like, daggone, man. They really must want 5s, but obviously they can't use 5 5s. So in other words, in your 14-man roster, you're going to have 5 5s? That doesn't make no sense. That makes no sense at all. No, it doesn't. So that's why I can see the Knicks making the move with Charlotte. We got the point guard, they got the 5, and we can make a change. And I'll tell you what, I would love Diabate. So they got Kyle Brenner at the 5, they got Xavier Tillman at the 5, PJ Hall at the 5, Moses Diabate at the 5. What? And they just drafted some Steinbeck or something like that at the 5? What? Nah, man. I'm saying, no. So they're going to trade. Somebody's leaving. They don't need all them 5s. So I think Charlotte is a good opportunity for the Knicks to plug in a big hole left by Mitch Rob with a big-time player in Moses Diabate, in my view. Cheap, which the Don loves. Upside. And we just keep rolling. That's all I'm saying. So that is why, if you start to see Kevon Looney and Nick Richards, please understand they don't know what they're talking about. We'll talk soon. We're going to see after tomorrow. Shalom.